Hi, this is Michael Buffer, and welcome to the BoxHard Podcast.
Hello, everyone. This is Mikey Garcia.
Yo, it's your boy, the odd guy himself, Malik King Scott.
Hi, I'm Charlie Edwards.
This is Fast Eddie Chambers, and you're listening to the BoxHard Podcast with my main man, Joey Coastman.
Hello everybody and welcome to episode 103 of the BoxHard Podcast. I'm your host Joey Coastman. I'm joined as always by Mr. Ayaz Sumra. Ayaz, how are you doing, sir?
I'm good, Joey. How are you?
Very good, my friend. Very good. Right, let's jump straight into it. Let's waste no time. Let's get straight down to business. Part one, of course, the review part of the show. Let's start with that. Right, we're going to start with a card that happened last Thursday. That's Thursday the 28th of September. One fight really to mention. It happened over in the Montreal Casino in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. One fight to mention on the bill. Oscar Rivas, the former Olympian, 20-0. He moved to 21-0. He took on a man called Carl Davis Drummond. I don't really know too much about him, but his record was 31-4, so a good record there. And it was for the vacant NABF heavyweight title. Oscar Rivas actually knocked the man out in one round, so very impressive win there for Oscar Rivas. He's actually a man, and I'm going to say this now. You know, there's other podcasts that have actually had on foreign-speaking fighters, like, for example, I think some other podcasts may have spoke to Rigondo. Now, we have completely decided to never interview a man that doesn't speak English because really and truly, there's no visuals to a podcast. It's just purely over the phone or whatever, you know, it's all audio. So what happens there is, if we're speaking to a man that doesn't speak English, we're just purely interviewing, a translator, an interpreter. So, we've never done that. And a man like Oscar Rivas, he's that kind of guy as well. We really, we've had good chats with him on Twitter and stuff like that, and he wants to come on the show, but we would need an interpreter. So we're not really interested in that. But, I said to him the other day, I said, I cannot wait until you start speaking English, and he basically turned around to me and said, I cannot wait until you start speaking French, because I think he speaks a bit of French and Spanish, so he cannot wait till I speak either of those languages. So he's got a bit of a sense of humour there, but we like Oscar Rivas here. 21-0 now, perfect record. Moving over now to China, and there's just one fight to mention on this bill. The reason why I bring it up, if you listened last week, you will know that the funny name fighter's name was Cho Kon Dong. Cho Kon Dong picked up a unanimous decision win over 6 rounds against another man whose name I cannot pronounce at all, but I just wanted to really put it out there that Cho Kon Dong has extended his record now. 7 wins, 2 losses now in total. Very good stuff there from China. Moving over now to a fight that happened over in Thailand. Now, the reason why I bring this up, it's a man I've never heard of. His name is Tasana Sanpatan. I'm not quite sure even which fight division he's fighting in, which weight division he's fighting in, but his record is now 43-0. He's one of these Thai fighters that has just had millions and millions of fights at such a young age. He's only 23 years old, and the bizarre thing about this, he picked up a knockout in round 2 on the weekend, and he actually took on an opponent who he's just listed as unknown. And that happens very rarely in boxing, so it's quite interesting to highlight that. A man who was 42-0 stepped in against someone who was completely unknown, probably a member of the crowd, and he extends his record there to 43-0, so that's interesting stuff there. He's obviously got a really long, undefeated record there, and he's only 23 years old, so that may be a name to watch out for there. Tasana Sanpatan, remember that one. Moving over now to Latvia, the Arena Riga in Riga, Latvia, obviously part of the cruiserweight sector of the World Boxing Super Series tournament. I'm just going to touch on the undercard here. There wasn't too much really on. Former WBO Cruiserweight World Champion Krzysztof Glowacki returned to the ring. His record 27-1 going in. He took on Leonardo Damian Bruzezi. Bruzezi was 18-3. It was, he was overmatched a little bit, to be honest. As soon as it got made, I thought that Glowacki's actually a really good fighter. Glowacki got him out of there inside 5 rounds, so a TKO there in round 5 for Glowacki. His record now 28-1 inside 29 fights. Good fight to him. Now the main event, Maris Bridis 22-0 took on Mike Perez 22-2 with one draw. We never really knew how good Mike Perez was at cruiserweight. We saw him at heavyweight, he was pretty good, and then he came down to cruiserweight and he had a fight that lasted about 10 or 15 seconds. Obviously the WBC World Cruiserweight title was on the line as well. I don't know, for me, it was strange because I was watching the boxing that was on Sky Sports, and then when this fight was beginning, it was coming to the main event on Sky Sports. So I decided to completely turn the channel over from the whole Sky Sports card. So I watched it all up until the main event, and then I flicked over to the World Boxing Super Series card, because I was saying to everybody, this fight's the real fight. Forget about Stewie Hall and Paul Butler's rematch. I didn't think that was going to be a very interesting fight, and to be honest, I still haven't watched that fight. I was flicking back and forth, and I saw it went to points, that one. But anyway, this fight here, Maris Bridis. To be honest, Ayaz, I know that you watched it as well. I wasn't really impressed with Bridis. He looked a little bit one-dimensional. I must also throw in there that the referee of this fight was absolutely terrible. He really had a shocker, in my honest opinion. Kept telling off Perez. Perez felt like he was fighting two men in there. I don't know. I wasn't really impressed by Bridis, and I've been quite high on him before. I mean, this fight we didn't even give a prediction last week, guys. We both bottled it a little bit and sat on the fence because we really weren't sure which kind of version of Perez would turn up, and we weren't too sure which Bridis, I suppose, would show up with a tough Cuban. We'd never seen that, so it was kind of unknown. But the fight that I thought was going to be very intriguing, very interesting, very exciting throughout, especially with two men that can also punch hard, it just didn't seem to be that at all. It was very lackluster, and it was quite hard to watch. Actually, it was very boring. A real bad fight, in my honest opinion. Not much action, and I think that really and truly that's been the worst fight by a long, long way in this World Boxing Super Series tournament, cruiserweight and super middleweight. What did you make of it, Ayaz?
I think it was a very good fight. Obviously, we know Bridis won the fight, yeah. I personally think now that Bridis is in the final now? So
no, he's into the semis now. He takes on Usyk in the next round.
Oh, wow. So, yeah, I apologize, yeah. So he's got to the semi-finals, and he's fighting Alexander Usyk. Now, let me tell you something. Bridis is a very good fight, yes. He's WBC Cruiserweight champion. But in my opinion, you're fighting Usyk, like one of the best fighters in this planet, and in my opinion, the best fight in the cruiserweight division. If I'm going to go for a win, I'm going to have to go with a Usyk stoppage. I've got a feeling Usyk will stop Bridis.
Okay, we will talk about that fight in more detail, obviously, when there's a date set for it. But I'm going to try and hold you to that, Ayaz, because I actually think that Usyk will probably beat him on points. So I'm going to try to remember that you picked a knockout here. That's if you don't change your mind from now till then. It just wasn't very, very spectacular, really. Bridis was trying to kind of fight at medium range. Didn't really like it up close. Every time Mike Perez got up close, the referee would intervene. I think Perez have a point taken off, if I'm not mistaken, something like that. It was just bad referee, and it was just a boring fight. I think the two styles didn't really match up well. Perez is very awkward. Let's not criticise Bridis too much, but it wasn't very eye-catching. But nonetheless, he gets the win, and that's all what's important. He now moves to 23-0 Bridis, perfect record. And, this next round against Usyk, that definitely will be a fight that I think will be very good to watch. And for me, I think Usyk wins out on points. But moving over now to Sweden, one fight to mention over there. A man called Anthony Yigit, that's the man that took on our very own Lenny Dawes and beat him pretty easily. Yigit moved to 20 wins. He's, of course, got one draw. He picked up a win this time against Sandor Martin, whose record was 29-1. He was actually a good fighter, and Yigit successfully defends his EBU European Super Lightweight title there. Moving over now to the Borough Hall in Hartlepool, County Durham, United Kingdom. One fight to mention on this bill, also for the EBU European super bantamweight title this time though. Abigail Medina came over here. His record 17-3 with 2 draws going in. He took on Martin Ward 25-3 with 1 draw. Ward was knocked down twice in that second round and it was real brutal stuff. Abigail Medina picked up the TKO in round 2 and I haven't actually seen it, but from what I've been told, it was a really brutal knockout, and everybody ringside was very worried about the health of Martin Ward, but eventually he did get up off the canvas, and it was good to see him get back to his feet there. But yeah, Abigail Medina with a bit of a statement there. His record now 18-3, 2 draws as well, and also Martin Ward now 25-4 with 1 draw. That's it for that one though. Moving over now to the Echo Arena, Liverpool, Merseyside, United Kingdom. Couple fights to mention on this bill. We're going to start with Natasha Jonas. She took on Bohana Libazuska, whose record was 5-24. It was a knockout in the 4th and final round there for Natasha Jonas, so her record now 2-0, a perfect one there. I didn't see the fight. I don't even think they didn't show any of it, I don't think, on the Sky card as well, which is quite surprising, really. Also on that bill, Derek Chisora, 26-7. His first fight with Matchroom Sports took on a man called Robert Filopovic, whose record was 4-2. Filopovic actually had a point deducted as well for holding. It was only a 6-rounder. I did say this on last week's show. I thought that Derek Chisora was going to probably knock the guy out and look spectacular doing so. And then everybody would kind of say, oh, this is Derek Chisora 2.0. It's going to be great when he fights for the European title and, when he fights Dillian White again or something like that. But surprisingly, and I know that Chisora's got a bit of a boring style at times when he's not in there with a with a guy that kind of brings it to him. Because if he's got a guy that brings it to him, comes at him, then it can be quite exciting. But if he's got a man who's going to just sort of box on the back foot, it's quite a bore fest, really. That's just the way Chisora's style is. And yeah, he actually knocked the man out in round 5 of 6, so a good knockout win for Chisora there. His record now 27-7, but they didn't show any of it on the Sky Sports card. I thought they could at least show him knocking the guy out if it was impressive. Again, there's no footage of it, so maybe the referee just jumped in and it was one of those dodgy stoppages. But yeah, if he completely blitzed him, I think they'd have probably shown some kind of clip of that and had everybody like, ooh, that looks good. But yeah, that's it for that one. Moving up the bill now, Anthony Fowler, he moved to 3-0. He actually knocked out Jay Byrne. Jay Byrne, who'd previously shared the ring with Felix Cash, and I think it was it wasn't Joe Cordin, it was Josh Kelly and Felix Cash, and both of those guys fouled to stop him, but they managed to pick up the win ultimately. Anthony Fowler made a bit of a statement here. He stopped him inside 4 rounds. Jay Byrne was down twice in that 4th round. It was scheduled for 6. Didn't need those extra rounds. Really impressive there from Anthony Fowler. He's definitely been working on his power with the guru, Dave Caldwell. Also on that bill, Scott Fitzgerald picked up a TKO in round 5 against Bradley Price. That's a big step up for Scott Fitzgerald there, so he looked good doing that, and that's an impressive name for his resume in just under 8 fights there. Also on the bill, Tom Farrell, 13-0, took on O'Hara Davies, 15-1. Obviously, O'Hara, we've got to give him a bit of credit, whether we like him or not. He stepped in there with another unbeaten man right on the back of his loss, and his very disappointing loss, and he'll admit that himself, to Josh Taylor. O'Hara just absolutely blitzed Tom Farrell. As soon as he was letting his hands go in combinations, Tom Farrell couldn't deal with it. The big right hand coming from a bit of a distance with those long arms of O'Hara when they were fighting at long range. O'Hara just couldn't miss with the right hand. Tom Farrell, he just couldn't take his shots. It was as simple as that. And O'Hara just looked so big in there next to Tom Farrell. He just looked a lot bigger than him physically, a lot stronger. He was the one pressing. He was the one on the front foot the whole fight. And O'Hara just completely overwhelmed him and stopped him inside 6 rounds, which is what he predicted he'd do as well in the press conference. So credit to O'Hara there. Again, if we like him or not, you've got to give him credit. He showed a bit of character there, especially in his opponent's backyard in the fiery Merseyside, where they don't really like him too much, I don't think. And also the WBA International Super Lightweight title was on the line there, so O'Hara Davies picks that belt up. And to be honest, he actually showed some good sportsmanship after the fight. big credit again to Tom Farrell. I think his corner probably should have took him out the fight a little bit earlier, but it was what it was. His record now 13-1. O'Hara Davies now 16-1. Also on the bill, Sean Dodd 14-2 with 1 draw, took on Tom Stalker 12-2 with 3 draws. This one was for the Commonwealth lightweight title. That's Sean Dodd's belt. I want to just back up a tiny bit, actually. We went with some predictions last week, Ayaz, and I know that you predicted for the O'Hara Davies fight, you predicted a knockout for O'Hara Davies. So did I, and so did our listeners. So that one there, we all picked up a point there, so that was very, very good for all of us, and the scores pretty much stayed the same in terms of who's in front by a point and all that stuff. But yeah, this fight here, this Sean Dodd and Tom Stalker fight, I actually went with Stalker to win on points. The listeners went with Stalker to win on points as well. They agreed with me. And you, Ayaz, actually went with Sean Masher Dodd to win on points. So you gain a point there. Very, very impressive prediction there from yourself, Ayaz. Tom Stalker was absolutely terrible. He really was. I think he's really considering retiring after that fight by the looks of what he's been saying, and to be honest, I can't blame him. It's a real shame for him, because obviously he was a good amateur, England captain and the rest of it, but as a pro, and I was looking at it and I tweeted about it during the fight, he's in there against Sean Masher Dodd, who, let's be honest, he's a bit of a brawler who can't even punch. I'm not knocking him at all, obviously he's got a bit of crack in his punches, but he's not a big puncher, he's a soft punching brawler. And Tom Stalker's the bigger man, the longer reach, the southpaw, with all the pedigree in the world as an amateur, and he just could not do anything. He was absolutely awful, Tom Stalker, and for me, I think I've seen enough of him. It's just not worked out. It's one of those guys who's turned pro with a really promising career, and it's just gone awfully, awfully wrong. It couldn't have really gone worse for Tom Stalker. And, to lose to Sean Masher Dodd, where on earth do you go from here? But no, credit to Sean Dodd. His record now 15-2 with 1 draw. Tom Stalker now 12-3 with 3 draws. And I think that's probably it for him. Moving up the bill once again, Rocky Fielding 24-1 took on David Brophy 19-1 with 1 draw. Remember, we both said that these two men have took on 2 guys where they've stepped it up a little bit. Callum Smith knocked out Rocky Fielding, and George Groves knocked out David Brophy. Brophy was coming off the really impressive win over Zach Dunn in Australia, if I'm not mistaken. The Commonwealth and the British super middleweight titles were both at stake. Well, to be completely honest, I was shocked by this, because I actually picked Rocky Fielding to win on points. Again, you, Ayaz, went with Rocky Fielding to win on points, but this time our listeners actually predicted correctly there with a Fielding knockout. So very well done to our listeners there. He just jumped all over him straight away. He hurt him in the first round early, and then he just went for it, completely went for it. It was a little bit risky, because initially I thought that David Brophy was actually doing really well covering up, and then he just couldn't get going, and once again, while kind of backpedaling and taking all these shots and parrying some of them and rolling some of them, he just got caught with another few good ones, and that was really it. He just didn't get a chance to get started. It was a little bit reminiscent of Callum Smith's win over Rocky Fielding, where he hurt him a little bit and then just jumped over him, and that was it. So that was what it was there. So really, really, really impressive stuff there from Rocky Fielding. We know he knows how to finish a man, and he reminded some of those that kind of forgot a little bit right there on Saturday night. So Rocky Fielding now 25-1, David Brophy 19-2 with 1 draw. Also on the bill, Paul Butler 24-1 took on Stewie Hall 21-5 with 2 draws. This is a fight that I missed because I said I was watching the Breedis and Perez fight. I didn't actually watch it at all, and I don't really want to watch it, to be honest. It was a unanimous decision win over 12 rounds for Paul Butler. We knew that was going to happen anyway, to be completely honest. I predicted a Paul Butler win on points, so did Ayaz, and so did our listeners. So we all knew it was going to happen, and that's the proof of it. And it just was what it was. Stewie Hall just looked, from the little bits I did see, he just looked to be, just getting beat to the punch, really. Time and time again, he just looks a little bit of an old man, but he's as tough as nails, isn't he? So credit to him for lasting the distance. I mean, credit to Butler, really. He gets his first win as a matchroom fighter, but yeah, it wasn't the most impressive thing in the world from what I've seen. But that is all the fights that we predicted on. So Ayaz gains 3 points out of 4, so he does really well there. Our listeners also gain 3 points out of 4, and I gain 2 points out of 4, so 50% success for me there. So the scores at the moment, the prediction league at the moment is I'm on 5 points, Ayaz has caught me up, he's also on 5 points, and our listeners are on 4, so it's very, very close. It just goes to show we all know what we're talking about. Even our listeners know what they're talking about. We know what we're talking about also. It is exciting. Right, that's it from the Echo Arena. Moving over now to the House of Blues in Boston, Massachusetts, USA. Gary Spike O'Sullivan, 25-2, took on England's very own Nick Quigley, 15-2. I actually watched this fight. Somebody tweeted about it saying, yeah, you know, you can watch this stream if you want to watch it here. And I clicked on it, started watching it, and as soon as the video started playing, literally the referee went, you know, both of you touch gloves. It was in the centre of the ring before the fight, so I tuned in at the very, you know, the perfect second. I missed everything, all the build up. It was just straight away fight time. To be honest, Spike started very quickly for me. He was starting a little bit too quick. You know, he landed some good shots in the first round, don't get me wrong. I can't remember which shot it was now, but he hit Quigley with a really, really good shot, and seemed to buckle his legs a little bit. But again, he was a little bit careless and he got caught a few times himself, but ultimately he just bludgeoned him, to be completely honest, over 4 rounds, and he picked up the TKO in round 4. So very, very impressed there from Spike O'Sullivan. He wanted to look quite eye-catching on ESPN, and I think he did that really convincingly, really well. So Spike O'Sullivan now 26-2, Nick Quigley 15-3. Both men, I think, if I'm not mistaken, may have even gone to a bar after the fight. There was a picture of them both, you know, arms in arms, both happy. That's what we like to see in boxing, proper gentleman sport. Moving over now to Sunday, there was just one fight I wanted to mention really at the Gentleman Fight Club Boxing House in Budapest, Hungary. I just really wanted to throw this name out there. Richard Barangi, that's the former opponent of Anthony Yarde. He actually picked up a knockout in round 2 against a man called Victor Slazai. His record was 19-56, but yeah, Richard Barangi, his record now 19-2, so very, very happy for him. He took a bit of a pasting from Anthony Yarde, but that's really it from the review, and we're done with that. It's now time to welcome our very first guest. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the unbeaten middleweight prospect, Mr. Alantez Fox. Alantez, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me here.
It's my pleasure, my friend. It's my pleasure. So in order to let our listeners know, those listeners that may not be too familiar with yourself, can you just tell us, Alantez, how did you get into boxing in the very beginning?
Well, I was playing football and basketball with some guys that were a little older than I was. Organized sports, of course. And my dad, who is the biggest fan of boxing I ever known, found out that they were all going to a gym. Now, him being the dad he is and being a fan of boxing he is, also put me in there. And, I mean, that's all she was after that.
And I want to ask you as well, because I don't know of it, if you had an extensive one or not at all. Did you have any kind of amateur career?
I did. I had close to 200 fights. My last amateur tournament was the under-19. I won that. And I won the ringside world championships a couple times. Like I said, about 200 amateur fights.
Oh, wow. Excuse me for not knowing that, actually.
No, it's fine.
So obviously you turned pro in 2010 at the age of 18. Now you are 25 here today. Your record at the moment, 23-0 with 1 draw. You're also ranked 12th by the IBF and 9th by the WBO. I want to ask you also, who is the best fighter that you've fought as a pro so far, and also the best fighter that you've sparred with in the past?
I think one of the best fighters I've ever sparred with would have to be Lamont Peterson. That was he was one of the first people to ever bring me into the pro boxing game. He showed me a lot of tricks. He still, every now and then we get in there, he still shows me a lot of tricks. And this gives me more insight on what being a pro is. I guess the best person I fought so far, I'm trying to think. I guess you could say Patrick Day. He was undefeated. Frank Laws at the time was also undefeated. I can't take that from him. Yeah, I guess those are some of the best guys.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Yeah, yeah. Obviously, Lamont Peterson, a big name, a man that's been around for a long time now. What I do want to ask you about as well, the thing that stands out to me most is obviously that you stand at 6'4", which is humongous for a middleweight. But even more crazy, I knew of your brother's name, and I had no idea that he was actually your brother, and he's only half an inch shorter than you, and he makes 140. How's that possible?
Yeah. Man, we have a system, man. It's a major system, and it's not easy at all. I will never tell you that it's easy to make the cut.
I wouldn't believe you if you told me it was easy.
Right, but like I said, we do it, and we don't complain about it, and we get the jobs done. I think my brother will be moving up soon too.
Yeah, a few weight divisions.
Yeah.
But obviously, getting on to what's next for you in your career, you'll be fighting on October the 21st in New York against the former two-time junior middleweight world champion Demetrius Andrade. Now, Demetrius is also undefeated like yourself. We've had him on this show as well before, and in my opinion, he's heavily underrated. I think he's a very, very good fighter. What do you make of him as a fighter, Alantez?
I think he's also a really good fighter, man. I think he just had some bad business deals, I guess. But this isn't the best business deal for him at all, being as though he's coming up in the weight class to fight me. But, I mean, it is what it is. Like I said, I respect everything he's done. Being the Olympian over in our country, even though they didn't medal or anything, he did enough to beat all the other fighters to be the Olympian here. So I'm not taking anything from him at all. I'm not taking him lightly at all.
And I know that you yourself have wanted a big fight for a long time. You've got what you wanted here. Would you say this is the biggest fight of your life?
To date, of course. This is the biggest opportunity in my entire career thus far, and I plan on trying to make the best of it.
And do you give Demetrius a lot of credit also, as you said there, to move up in weight, to take a fight like this against an undefeated guy, and not just your average middleweight in yourself, but also, being as tall as what you are? Do you give him a lot of credit moving up and taking on somebody like yourself?
I definitely do. I definitely do give him a lot of credit. I'm not sure that this was his first choice at all, but, like I said, business is business. And I guess they're ready for him to prove himself. He does do a good amount of talking. Was a good amount of talking at junior middleweight. So I guess they need him to prove himself at middleweight now.
And obviously, we're not going to look past Andrade at all. It's a really good fight. It's a 50-50 fight, some may say. But as you're highly ranked in the WBO, obviously the UK, our very own middleweight champion, Billy Joe Saunders, have you seen much of him? Do you rate him much? I did watch Billy Joe Saunders' last fight against William Monroe. It was a pretty good fight. That was actually a pretty good fight. But there's a reason he's the champion, and there's always going to be a reason. If somebody goes and gets a belt, a major belt like the WBO, there's a reason he made it there. So I won't say anything bad about him, but I would love to fight him. Yeah, no, of course. And also, I want to ask you about, I think I read something where you've done some rounds sparring with Jarrett Hurd. Is that right?
Oh, yeah. I do a lot of rounds sparring with Jarrett Hurd.
And how's that work for you guys?
It's really good. It's really good work. You can probably get people to pay to watch that work. When he won the IBF, I was basically his main source of sparring. So we put in a lot of good rounds together.
And of course, he's got a really, really good fight coming up as well. Obviously, against Austin Trout, former world champion. That's coming up this week. That's next weekend, isn't it? Yeah, next weekend. I apologise. How do you see that fight playing out? It's a really good fight, really big step up.
It is a really good. That is a really big step up, and this is gonna be a really good fight. I've had a chance to work with Austin Trout as well, and Austin Trout is stronger than I think people give him credit for, and he's a hell of a boxer. He's definitely a hell of a boxer. And he surprised a lot of people with his power.
And I want to ask you this as well, because I actually had no idea who you may have sparred with, and I've just basically talked about two guys. You've sparred both of those guys, obviously Hurd and Trout. You mentioned Peterson. Is there any other big names that you've sparred with?
I've had some work with Sean Porter.
Okay.
I've had some work with, of course, Lamar's brother, Anthony Peterson.
Oh, yeah.
Dominic Wade.
Okay, yeah. Golovkin's former opponent, yeah.
Yeah. And I guess I can talk about some of the up and coming prospects too. You got to talk about Demetrius Ballard. I don't know if you know who that is.
Yeah.
Demetrius Ballard. The other day I got a chance to work with my younger brother, Michael Fox. You know, that's more hell of a fighter. So I got to give him this credit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, go on. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. Yeah, I was trying to think. I was trying to think about other fighters I might have.
You've reeled off enough. If any come in your head, you know, you can certainly say it. I do want to ask you this as well, Alantez. I do want to ask you this. The middleweight division is a very, very exciting division at the moment. I just wanted to kind of get your take on your favourite top 5 in the division, not including yourself. Who would you say is the top 5 guys at middleweight? Tough question.
All right.
Number 1 has got to be out of Canelo or Triple G, surely.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go with Triple G being number 1.
Yeah, I'd have to.
Go with Triple G being number 1. You know what? Lara bounces between 160 and 154. So if he was to be considered a middleweight, even though he's about to fight at junior middleweight, I would also consider him. I would consider him number 1 over Golovkin.
Okay.
And Danny Jacobs.
Yeah. For sure.
Of course, we're gonna throw Canelo in there. I'm throwing Canelo in there too.
Yep, Canelo. Yeah, surely
One more.
He deserves it. So what we got? We got Jacobs, Canelo, Golovkin. You got Lara in there. He kind of counts. What about Jamal Charlo?
Yeah, he comes out. No disrespect to the man, but I don't think he. I don't think. I would go with David Lemieux over Jamal Charlo. Jamal Charlo hasn't proven himself to me that he hasn't proven himself to be above me in the rankings. So I don't. Like I said, not to take anything from him, he's a hell of a fighter, but I don't feel he's better than I am.
No, that's a fair point. And another fight I want to throw at you now that you mentioned Danny Jacobs there. He's obviously taking on a young prospect, a man who's in a similar kind of position as you, where he's been wanting a big fight for a long time. He's got it as well. Obviously, that man being Luis Arias. Do you see that as a close fight? Who do you favour in that one?
I actually favor Danny Jacobs, man. I feel like Luis Arias might get hit too much, and Danny Jacobs has some good power. So this is that. I mean, it may be a really good fight, you know. And did you happen to see their press conference?
I saw clips of it. It's been a busy week.
Oh my God, the press conference was ridiculous. Like I saw Danny Jacobs kind of trying to play it cool, but Luis Arias kind of exploded. Like, man, you've been down. I can't believe this. That and third. I'm gonna knock this guy out, bro. I'm like, man, you know, this is a bit much to just bite off, and don't bite off more than you can chew.
No, of course not. Not in this boxing game. And finally, I just want to give you 2 more questions. I want to throw at you now. I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. Sometimes I warn people of this question. I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. I like to ask this to all the guys we speak to from overseas. Who would you say is your favourite UK fighter? And it can be from any era. It can be currently, or it can be somebody who's retired years and years ago.
Prince
Naseem.
Yep.
That's the most popular answer. So, yeah, that's...
It is. I'm sure it is.
Yeah, no, it is. I speak to so many people, and that's always the name that they say. Any reason in particular? Just the flashy style? How good he really was?
The flashy style. He wasn't really. He was never technically sound at all. He just possessed good power and an awkward style that gave everyone, and except for Barrera, problems.
Yeah. No, you're spot on there. You're spot on there. But no, yeah, definitely one of our best fighters ever. And also, I wanna throw this one at you. You can answer it if you want to. If you don't want to, that's no problem. I wanted to get your prediction for your fight. How do you see yourself coming out victorious October 21st?
I'll definitely be boxing my ass off. You know, that's the goal. I mean, if he wants to see some shots, but I think he will. I definitely think he'll run into some shots. Then that could be make it a short night. So I'm there to box for as long as the fight lasts. You know, I mean, if I get a knockout, yeah, that's great. But I'm in shape enough to go to 12 rounds, but asking for. And at the end of the night, if it isn't cut short, it'll be a unanimous decision my way.
And anything now? I've run out of questions now. Anything now that you want to tell our listeners at all before you go?
I just want y'all to know that I appreciate you calling me and giving me some exposure over in the UK. And I want you all to follow me at SlyAza Fox on Instagram and Twitter. That's SlyAza Fox. Again, that's SlyAza Fox. Man, we're gonna chronicle the journey a little bit, man. I hope you know this opportunity can be a dream fulfilled.
Absolutely. Just once again, everybody listening now, please go over to Twitter, go over to Instagram and follow this man, a true exciting prospect, an undefeated prospect, a man who will be a big name certainly down the line in the very near future. Okay, listen, Alantez, it's been a real pleasure speaking with you this week. Thank you so much for giving us some of your time. Best of luck. Best of luck for the 21st, and no doubt we'll catch up again afterwards, my friend. Thank you so much. Thanks for BoxHard Podcast too. Okay, now it's time for part 2 on this week's show. This part, of course, the preview part, but as always, we go over to Ayaz with the latest boxing news roundup worldwide. Ayaz.
Right. David Haye versus Tony Bellew were facing a rematch on December 17th at the O2 Arena.
Yes, it's weird because it's going to be on a Sunday, but the first fight obviously ended slightly controversially with the injury that David Haye picked up. We never really knew what was going to actually happen in those late rounds if the injury didn't happen, so there's a bit of intrigue there, and that's carried over to this rematch. For me, Tony Bellew probably had some other options, but I don't think they would have brought in the same kind of money as this, and David Haye had no options whatsoever. He needs to get over this stumbling block to be able to be in those big heavyweight fights and to be able to be in with a legitimate chance of perhaps, you know, getting a Joshua fight or something like that. So yeah, David Haye needed it a lot more than Bellew did, but Bellew really hung out for this whole time while David Haye was, you know, doing all these kinds of therapy and that to get his ankle, or his Achilles I should say, back to what it was. So yeah, Tony Bellew's happily waited for him and been out the ring waiting for this payday, and here it is. So yeah, I'll be tuning into it. It's, you know, I suppose it's going to be a good fight again. I hope so, and may the best man win with no injuries this time. Hopefully we see a proper winner in a real real old-fashioned boxing match that sees the best man win. That's what we want to see ultimately. Right.
Tyson Fury will not apply for a new British boxing license.
Yes, he tweeted yesterday about he's angry with the British Boxing Board of Control. I don't think you can blame him, really. I think they've been very unfair towards him, but again, we don't know the full story of all these drug tests and stuff like that and all the rumours that go around. I said it ages ago, he could easily apply for a boxing licence, like a Luxembourg boxing licence, just like David Haye and Derek Chisora applied for when they were banned from the Boxing Board of Control after their brawl in Germany that time, after the Vitaly Klitschko and Derek Chisora fight. So, yeah, it's not really surprising. It's not really big news. Some people saying, oh, he's definitely retired from boxing because he can't get a British licence. He's decided to retire. That's complete nonsense, I think it was the Sun that were tweeting about that. Surprise, surprise. But yeah, he's not retired. I think he'll probably try and get a licence elsewhere, and they'll be very, very happy to oblige, and they'll give him a license, and they'll be happy that he's boxing under their license. So yeah, other sanctioning bodies that can give out licenses will all be frothing at the mouth for that one. They'll definitely want Tyson under their books.
Carl Frampton will face Mexican Horacio Garcia in his comeback fight.
Yes, it's not really the fight that we all wanted to see. I think really and truly it's a little bit disappointing. But, you know, it's a comeback fight. He's been out the ring for quite a while. You know, it's his first fight with Frank Warren. But for me, I'm not really loving the fight too much. And the fans online, every single fan's comment that I read when they'd announced the fight, every single comment was a bad one, a negative one. So, yeah, we're not really impressed with it, in all honesty. But it is what it is. I'm a big fan of Carl Frampton, and I like the way Frank Warren's doing business. So we'll have to wait and see. I'm hoping it's not going to be a pay-per-view card. I think they'll do bad numbers if it does become one.
Lamont Peterson has relinquished his WBA belt.
Yes, obviously he was a belt holder at 147. I'm not quite sure his reasons behind that. But no, it opens up the doors for a lot of the guys at 147. For example, people like Sam Eggington, for example. You know, I think he was fancying that fight sometime next year. But now that he's, you know, given up the belt, then, you know, it opens up doors for people like that, people on that fringe kind of level. So, yeah, it's very interesting, and we'll have to wait to see what unfolds with that one.
Luis Ortiz has failed a drugs test.
Yes, it's not quite clear what's going to be happening, but he was scheduled to take on Deontay Wilder in November. That was going to be a fantastic fight. I feel very sorry for Wilder. I think this is the second or third time that this has happened to him, so I feel very sorry for him. You know, every time he goes to get a big fight, this kind of thing happens, so I'm very gutted for him, but I know he still wants to fight the guy, but again, that's obviously illegal in the boxing world, and we'll have to wait to see what happens. But I'm hoping it all gets cleared up, because Luis Ortiz has basically turned around and said, yeah, well, it was some kind of drug that was in something that I've been prescribed for high blood pressure, and he seems to have tried to prove that. I think he uploaded a picture of his his medicine that he's been taking for high blood pressure. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens, because it was looking like a really good undercard as well. Another heavyweight fight on there was Stiverne versus Dominic Brazil. So we'll have to wait and see what happens there. But hopefully it gets cleared up soon, because we're not that far away from it now.
The WBC have ordered a rematch between Golovkin and Canelo.
Yes, obviously the WBC are not Canelo's best of friends. Canelo, I don't think, is going to take any notice of what they want at all. And I think the fight is going to probably happen anyway. I think there probably will be a rematch, to be honest, because both men are going to earn big money in it. And I don't think the WBC, I don't really know why they've done it, to be honest, but I don't think anybody's going to listen to them. If they wanted the rematch originally, then this won't change anything. And if they didn't want the rematch, I don't think this is going to push either man to sign for it. If they want it, they'll have it. If they don't, then they won't. But I don't think this really changes anything. It's just a piece of, it's fake news. That's what I call it.
Jarrell Miller will face Marius Wack.
Yes, Big Baby Miller to be fighting on a big undercard that I'm sure you're going to tell us about the main event in a second, Ayaz. But yeah, that's a good fight for Big Baby Miller. Wack's a very, very tough guy, got a very good chin as well. And that's a very, very hard fight. And stylistically, it's not the most attractive sounding fight either. I don't think that's going to be a barn burner. I think that's a really stern test there for Jarrell Miller, Big Baby Miller. And yeah, it's an intriguing one, that's all I can say. But no, I'm looking forward to it. I like Big Baby, he's got a big personality. I'd like to see him face Dillian White, but yeah, I think that fight may even happen down the line. But no, this is a decent fight. Tell us about the main event of that card, though, Ayaz.
And finally, Danny Jacobs will face Luis Cuba Arias in the main event.
Yeah, Luis Arias, a man that's been on this show a couple of times, good friend of the show. And of course, Daniel Jacobs in his first fight underneath Eddie Hearn's Matchroom Sports USA. It's a good fight. It's a really good fight. Luis Arias has been asking for a big name for a long, long time. I think when he was last on the show, I think he actually said to me, I need a big name fighter now. And he gets it here. The only question is it too big of a name? Because we know that Danny Jacobs is a phenomenal fighter. And, he can give anybody in the world some real trouble. And if not, he can probably knock him out. We'll have to wait and see, because Luis Arias has been looking really good lately as well. So it's a brilliant step up for Arias, and both men can punch. So I'm expecting it to be a bit of an early night in both of those fights, perhaps.
That's it for the news.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Ayaz. Right, moving over now to the preview, and we're going to start with a fight happening later today in America. It's at the Mohegan Sun Casino in Connecticut, USA. One fight to mention. Friend of the show, actually, Cassius Chaney. His record 10-0. He takes on a man called John Bolden, whose record is 8-11 with one draw. Cassius Chaney still building up his resume there. Still undefeated, good friend of the show, good fighter him. He's a heavyweight prospect to look out for. Moving over now to the Meadowbank Sports Centre in Edinburgh, Scotland, United Kingdom. Couple fights to mention on this bill. Gary Cornish 24-1 takes on Sam Sexton 23-3. That one's for the British heavyweight title, the title that everybody's wanted to get a piece of. You know, Ian Lewison wanted it for a while. I think Joe Joyce was probably eyeing it up. I think that Dave Allen wanted it for a while. You know, everybody wants it, and it's going to be contested between these two guys. Should be a good fight though. Yeah, it's quite a good one, that one, to be completely honest. Also on the bill, Stephen Simmons 17-2. The Scottish cruiserweight takes on Simon Barkley 9-1. That should be a good fight as well. Simon Barkley, a tad underrated. That one's for the vacant IBF East and West Europe cruiserweight title. Moving over now to Germany, Chris Eubank Jr. 25-1 takes on Avni Yildirim 16-0. The press conference was very fiery this week. It's for the IBO World Super Middleweight title, of course. That is Chris Eubank's belt. Firstly, Ayaz, I want to go over to you on this one. Of course, it's another fight in the World Boxing Super Series tournament. This time it is at the Super Middleweight division. How do you see this one unfolding, Chris Eubank Jr. versus Avni Yildirim? I've also asked the Twitter listeners and followers what they think, so we're going to give our predictions on this one as well.
I personally reckon Chris Eubank is going to stop him. Obviously, we've seen Chris Eubank fight Arthur Abraham. His speed, it's always with Chris Eubank. He's got a very fast hand, and it's the uppercut that he always lands. So I got a feeling Chris Eubank is going to stop him within the first 8 rounds. So I got Chris Eubank, in my opinion, will win this fight.
Okay, bold prediction. I'm going to actually agree with you, Ayaz. I'm going to go with a Eubank knockout as well. We've actually asked a poll on Twitter, of course, and our listeners have gone with Eubank to win on points. I think it's a wise choice to go with him to win on points, to be honest, because I don't really know if his power ever was fantastic at world level, especially, going up to super middleweight. And this man here has never lost. He's never been stopped, obviously. So, we're going a bit bold there, Ayaz, but I am in agreement with you, to be honest. Yeah, I think it's going to be good to see Eubank back in action. Of course, it always is. He always brings a good fight to the table. I'm interested to see what Yildirim's like. Some people have actually picked Yildirim to go on to win the whole tournament. So, it should be interesting to see what happens there. But no, I'm looking forward to it. But unfortunately, it's on the ITV pay-per-view. I think you've got to pay £10 to watch it or something. So, yeah, not very happy about that. May have to find a stream if I'm completely honest. Hope nobody's listening to that from the World Boxing Super Series. Moving over now to... In fact, I'm going to mention a couple of fights on the undercard, actually. Stefan Hartel's on the bill. His record 14-0. He's a really good prospect. He's in a 10-rounder against Viktor Polyakov, who's 13-1 with one draw. That should be a really good fight there. Hartel's pretty good. Firat Arslan's also on the bill as well. His record 40-8 with 2 draws. He takes on Mauricio Barragan, whose record 16-2. That's a 10-rounder there. Also, Zach Parker. He's in an 8-rounder. He just... literally a few weeks ago knocked out Luke Blackledge in a round, so it's going to be interesting to see what he's like here. He's in against a man who's got a record of 9-6, so he shouldn't be offering too much. But Zach Parker all of a sudden has sprung into one of my most favourite prospects to watch following that good win there. That's it from Germany. I can't even pronounce that venue at all. It's in Stuttgart, that's all I can tell you. Moving over now to the Manchester Arena in Lancashire, United Kingdom. I'm going to start with the undercard. Marcus Morrison, 14-2. He steps in against Marius Biskupski, whose record is 23-45 with 2 draws. Marcus Morrison, he was looking really good at one point, and then all of a sudden he racked up 2 losses in a row. So, yeah, hopefully he picks up a win here, to be honest. He's under the tutelage of Joe Gallagher. Also on the bill, Hosea Burton, a man that's also with Joe Gallagher. He's returning to the ring. I think it's maybe the first fight after the Buglioni one. I'm not quite sure. Maybe I could be wrong there. His record 19-1. I really do like Jose Burton, though. I think he's very good, very underrated as well. I would like to see him take on Anthony Yarde, in all honesty. He's in a 6-rounder against a man called Christoph Damendi, whose record's 10-3 with 2 draws. Not a great undercard, this one. Gavin McDonnell's back in the ring as well. His record's 17-1 with 2 draws. He's in a 6-rounder against Jay Carney, whose record is 5-3 with 2 draws. Should be a relatively easy win there for Gavin McDonnell. Scott Cardle's also on the bill. His record 21-1 with 1 draw. His opponent's yet to be announced. That's a 6-rounder there. Conor Benn's on the bill as well. His record 8-0. He takes on Nathan Clark, who's 5-1 with 1 draw over 6 rounds. Conor Benn, he's really, he's really impressed me. He's got a lot better recently. But what I will say is, when you look down Conor Benn's resume, he's fought guys who, some of them have had winning records, don't get me wrong. He hasn't fought these journeymen with like 170 losses and stuff. But everyone he's fought, they've all had like 5 fights max, whether that's 4 losses and a draw, however you want to mix it around. They've all had like 5 or 6 pro fights. They're all really, really inexperienced, and I'm wondering what that's about. I don't know if it's because Conor Benn didn't have a great amateur career. I don't even know anything about his amateur career. But yeah, I think that's quite interesting there. So he takes on a man who's had less fights than him once again. Robbie Barrett's also on the bill. His record 15-2 with 1 draw. He puts his British lightweight title on the line here. Of course, he took that title away from a man on the undercard that we just mentioned, Scott Cardle. He takes on Lewis Ritson, though. Lewis Ritson, 12-0, perfect record, 12-round fight, that one. That should be interesting. I'd like to see what happens there. Sam Eggington also on this bill. His record 21-3. He fights Mohamed Mamoun, who's 18-2. And it's for the EBU welterweight title. That's Sam Eggington's belt. Of course, he won that from Seferino Rodriguez in his last fight. Brutal knockout. I remember that one. Sam Eggington just looking better and better every fight, really. But he's in there with a guy here, Mohamed Mamoun, Ayaz. I don't know if you know too much about him. I'm guessing probably not. How do we see this fight unfolding? Sam Eggington and Mamoun. I think he's 18-2. I don't think he's been stopped in the 2 losses, though, if I'm not mistaken, without trying to go and check again.
I'll tell you one thing. Sam Eggington, he's won British Young Fighter of the Year recently, right? That kid, Sam Eggington, he's improving fight after fight. We've seen his last 2 fights. He stopped Paulie Malignaggi. I remember saying that I personally thought Paulie Malignaggi would have beaten him. He proved me wrong. He fought Frankie Gavin. Before that, stopped Frankie Gavin. Sam Eggington is one fighter that keeps on improving day by day. And I got a feeling he's going to stop this fight, and I got a feeling he's going to have a shot at a world title soon. And in my opinion, I reckon he's going to fight Jeff Horn. And I got a feeling that's going to happen. And this fight on Saturday, Sam Eggington, I got a feeling he's going to stop him.
I don't know, it's hard because you know that obviously, Bradley Skeets around that Jeff Horn fight, so's Gary Corcoran, and obviously Sam Eggington's fighting now, so he probably won't be fighting again until next year, especially, stepping up to world level. So I don't see that one happening. Maybe it happens down the line if Jeff Horn actually beats one of these guys that I mentioned there and he's still the champion, which I don't know if he will. It's all a bit mad at the minute. We've asked our listeners what they think, and a whopping 89% of them have gone with Eggington to win by knockout. So I'm going to go with Eggington on points, actually. And Ayaz, of course, goes with Eggington by knockout there as well. Moving up to the main event on this one. Again, people are saying this is a great fight. It's kind of annoying because I think this is a terrible... Let me choose my words carefully here. It's a good fight because both of them have... especially Ricky Burns, has deteriorated so badly that it's actually viewed as not even a 50-50 fight, but actually some people think Anthony Croller's going to win this fight. He's the favourite to win. So Anthony Croller, obviously 31-6 with 3 draws, takes on Ricky Burns. It's a 12-rounder, no title on the line. Ricky Burns 41-6 with 1 draw. I've been bashing Ricky Burns for ages, saying that he's completely washed up. He's no good anymore. I've been a little bit harsh, to be honest. I do like Ricky Burns as a person. Anthony Croller, I like him as a person as well. And I was looking down his resume as well, and when you actually look at Barroso, I mean, it was a decent win, and some of these other wins, they were okay, and then he just got completely schooled by Linares. 110%, and if there's a bet on it, I'm going to go and check it out. If there's a bet that says this fight goes to the distance, I would put my house on that, because this fight 100% is going to the distance. Nobody's knocking nobody out. That is 100% guaranteed. If that does not happen, if someone gets knocked out in this fight, I'm going to do something wild. I might have to just do the next few podcasts in a Chris Eubank senior accent. That's what I'm going to do. Hold me to that for the next 10 podcasts. If somebody gets knocked out for the next 10 podcasts, I'm just going to do the whole 10 of them in Chris Eubank senior's accent. I'm just going to have to be like, hello everybody and welcome. This is the BoxHard Podcast. I'm going to have to just do it like that, Ayaz. I'm going to be honest with you. That's what I'm going to have to do. So, yes, Anthony Crolla, Ricky Burns. How do you see it going, Ayaz, this fight here?
Oh, this is a good fight. It's a make or break win for both fighters, in my opinion. I got a feeling, obviously, if Crolla wins, he's got another chance of having another shot at a world title. If Ricky Burns wins, we know that there could be a battle of Scotland where it could be Ricky Burns versus Josh Taylor. Because I remember after the Taylor fight, after Josh Taylor beat O'Hara Davis, they got Channel 5 had got Josh Taylor for an interview, yeah, and Ricky Burns was right next to him, and they said, how about a fight in the future? And Ricky Burns said I got my future opponent set to fight first, and then if I win, we'll probably think of that in the future. So for me, in my opinion, it's a 50-50 fight. I can't really choose an opponent. I'm still on the fence, and obviously, it's a very good fight. I like Anthony Crolla. I think he's a good fighter. He's fought Linares. In my opinion, I think Linares is one of the best fighters in this planet. Linares beat him twice though. He's fought stopped Darlis Perez. He drew against Darlis Perez first. Stopped Darlis Perez. Was losing the fight against Ishmael Barroso. Stopped Ishmael Barroso and then lost to Thing. We know that Ricky Burns has fought a very good fight as well, but I don't know. It's a 50-50 fight. I can't decide on a fight with this, and I think this will be a very, very good fight.
Ayaz, I'm not letting you sit on the fence. It's a 50-50 fight. Everybody knows that I'm going to have to push you for a winner.
Okay, if I'm going to have to go for a winner, I'm going to have to go with probably Ricky Burns on points.
Really? I don't know, I really don't know. Go on. I didn't want to cut you off. Go on.
I'll tell you the reason why is that is because Ricky Burns, if he wins that fight, there's that big Battle of Scotland fight, Josh Taylor, which the fans want to see. Obviously, Ricky Burns, I know he's done his bit. He's a 3-weight world champion. If Ricky Burns beats Crolla, he'll fight Josh Taylor, and I think Josh Taylor will stop him, and that's when he retired. That's what I've got a feeling.
Yeah, again, as you said just there, it's a make or break fight for both men. I think really and truly it's almost a break or break fight for both men, because both men are 100% at the back end of their careers. I don't think either man can win a world title from this point unless you get served up somebody like that guy that Ricky Burns got served up. What was that guy's name? The Italian guy that was absolutely dreadful. What was that guy's name again?
Michele De Rocco.
Yeah, that was just a complete joke. Unless one of them gets fed someone like that for a vacant title, they're not winning no titles. Both guys, I can guarantee you that. Firstly, I can see, I'm not going with this as my prediction, but I can actually see a draw. I can actually see a draw here. But I think I was going to go with Ricky Burns on points. The reason why I was going to go with that was because everybody thinks that Crolla is going to win on points, including our listeners. So our listeners have gone with Crolla to win on points, 67% going with that. Nobody actually going with Burns by knockout completely, not even one vote. So yeah, everybody thinks it's Crolla on points. The bookies believe it's Crolla on points, and there's a bet that I saw last night. If you go to the betting shop and bet on this, it's 3-1 for Burns to win on points, which I think is a very attractive, lucrative bet there. That is put £10 on it, you obviously win 30 plus your tenner back. That's a great bet. I think they're massively overlooking Burns, despite him being really washed up and 100% past his best. Still, how good is Anthony Crolla really when he fights an established champion like Ricky Burns? We're going to have to see, because he looked completely out of his depth against Linares. I'm being a little bit harsh, I know, but, I've got to say it how it is. I'm going to go with Ricky Burns on points. You're agreeing with me, Ayaz. I only went with Ricky Burns on points because I thought you was going to go with Crolla on points, but I'm going to stick with my guns and still go with Ricky Burns. So me and you both reckon Ricky Burns on points. Our listeners go with Crolla on points. It is a 50-50. It is 100% a 50-50, but it's not a fantastic fight because you know, both men at this point in their careers are not that exciting to me. What do you think? You can tweet us on Twitter at BoxHard Podcast. Let me know if I'm being too harsh. You can let me know. You can give me a little bit of a telling off. Right, moving over now from the Manchester Arena to York Hall, Bethnal Green. A couple fights to mention over here. One fight to mention on the undercard. Asinia Byfield, 13-1, takes on Tony Dixon, 10-1. Asinia Byfield really impressed me last time out when he took on Sammy McNess. I was there for that fight just before the riot kicked off in the Copper Box. What a mad night that one was. Also moving up the undercard once again, Robin Dupree, 12-0, takes on Luke the Duke Watkins, 11-0. Obviously, Luke the Duke, a man being trained by Paddy Fitzpatrick. Paddy Fitzpatrick, been on the show before, a good trainer. That one's for the vacant Commonwealth Cruiserweight title. It's two men undefeated, and I tell you what, I might try and get down to that card because that is a really decent card. Even though there's not many fights on it, there's a couple of really intriguing ones. I don't think. Oh no, it's going to be on Channel 5. It's going to be on Channel 5. I might just watch it from home then, on the in the comfort of my sofa. And the main event, Andrew Selby, 9-0, massive friend of the show. He's in a 12-round contest against Maximino Flores, 23-3 with one draw. Tough Mexican fighter here. It is an eliminator for a world title there. So it's a big fight being brought to Bethnal Green there at the York Hall, and that is being brought by Cyclone Promotions. So all the very best to everybody involved there. And that wraps up the previewing. We've done all the talking, we've done the news, we've done the reviewing, and now we've done the previewing. There's one last thing to do before we close out part 2, and that of course is to welcome guest number 2. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the former IBF lightweight and WBA junior middleweight champion of the world, Mr. Vinny Paz. Vinny, welcome to the show.
Welcome. I am glad to be here. Thank you for having me on.
It's my pleasure, sir. It's my pleasure. So, Vinny, I just want to spend a couple of moments looking back over your career. Then I'd like to obviously talk about your very own movie that's come out recently. So, of course, Vinny, you turned pro in 1983. Back then, you were under the tutelage of the late Lou Duva, right?
Yes.
What was it like to work with a man like that, a man with so much knowledge in the game?
Lou was a trip. He was, if he wasn't eating, he was boxing. He was helping boxers. Lou was a good guy, but everybody's got their flaws. He was okay. There were a couple of things he did I didn't like, but Lou, for the most part, was a good guy. It's just the boxing game itself is a corrupt industry, and not subjecting just the boxing game, because that's life. There's everything. Everybody in life, is out for themselves, and you got to do what you got to do. But I'm not all that happy with what the things that went on in my career and stuff. And basically, I would have fought for $10,000 a fight because I just love to fight, But looking back, there were mistakes, but I'm happy with my career. I'm happy with the way things turned out. I'm elated that I won 50 fights, which is hardly ever done. That's a mountain in itself. I won 5 different world titles. I'm happy with the way things went. I entertained millions of people, and that's the one and only reason why I should be in the Hall of Fame by now. I don't know what's going on with that, but I do know, because life's all about money, and it's because my movie didn't do what it should have done, what it could have done, because of the producers that were on it. But my movie, it didn't do like Mickey Ward's movie. Hit was great. Everybody went to see it, and they inducted Mickey right into the Boxing Hall of Fame after. And that's what they would have done to mine if my movie was, somewhat up there, even a little bit. But I had so many problems with the producers of the movie, and that's a whole nother story. I got them in court right now, and that's it. I don't think my PR girl would like me to say anything more than that.
No, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. We're gonna touch on.
And you know, and we're on the phone right now because of my PR girl. You know that, right, Zena? You know, Paula Sciarino. We're on the phone. She does a great job. She's the best. She's the bomb. She's just wonderful. Yeah, I love that girl to death. I don't know if you've ever seen her, but have you ever seen a picture of her?
I believe so. Yes.
She's effing hot. I like that opens a couple of doors up for me. It opens a lot of doors up for me. She's freaking hot, bro.
Shout out to Zena.
It's always good to have a hot PR girl.
I have to agree. If I'm ever in a position to have my own PR, then I'll certainly bear that factor in mind. Right, Vinny. Moving on to obviously some of your most memorable nights. I want to just fast forward. We started in 1983. I want to fast forward to your first world title fight. Obviously, you took on Greg Haugen in 1987. At that point, you had a record of 22-1, even knocking out Joe Frazier Jr. along the way. Obviously, Greg Haugen was 19-0. You beat him unanimously over 15 rounds back then. This was obviously your first fight of your eventual 3 fights in total. What do you remember from that night, Vinny?
Yes. Well, I remember that being, one of the greatest nights of my life. Actually, my record going into that fight was 23-0 because a fight in Italy. Italy was all messed up. Their commission was not like it should have been. I got headbutted in a fight, and I believe it was. Let me see. I fought in Riva del Garda, and I think my next fight was in Rome. But I got headbutted with some dude. I was beating him, and that's all they told me about him is just watch his head, and he's a billy goat. So, he got me, and he got me good. Eyebrow to eyebrow, I got cut. And they finally stopped the fight in, I think, the 4th or 5th round, somewhere around there. And it got awarded as a no contest, and then it went down as a loss as years went on. But, it really makes no difference, in the big scheme of things. It means absolutely nothing. But my first fight with Greg Haugen was a memorable one because it was fought on NBC, on the Wide World of Sports, during the day when there was only 3 channels. There was only ABC, NBC, and CBS, and some people would hook up an antenna, hook up a hanging. A clothes hanger to the back of their TV, and they'd get a UFA, they'd get a VHS or UHF channel. So it was a big fight, and I beat him. I was sick as a dog the day that I fought him because I couldn't make the weight. And when I finally did, I just, I started eating like crazy, and that day, the day of the fight, was when the weigh-in was. So I was sick as a dog, crazy, like how I fought. I have no idea how I did it. But amazingly enough, I was losing after the 12th round, which in today's day and era, I would have lost the fight. I would have lost the title. I won the fight in the 13th, 14th, and 15th rounds. I rallied back, and I beat his little stupid ass. And we had a rematch, and in the rematch, I thought I was going to kill him because I had so many problems in the first fight, and I beat him in the last 3 rounds. So I figured I was going to just tear him apart, and I let my weight go, and I just, drank too much liquids closer to the fight. I literally was 13 pounds over the day of the weigh-in. The day of the weigh-in, I was 13 pounds overweight, and I was just horrid, horrid. And I knew I had nothing in the fight, and he fought a great fight, and I lost that one. And then in the second fight, he agreed to let me come in at 142, which was a disaster on his part because I came in at probably around 152, and I just cleaned his clock. In the third fight, I beat him easy. He didn't even touch me. I don't think he hit me twice in the third fight. And funny enough, oddly enough, the thing I remember about that mostly is I felt good. I was looking good. I was all tanned up. And in the front row was the president of our country, of the United States. Donald Trump was sitting with Evander Holyfield in the front row. It was memorable, very memorable because of that, and because 2 out of 3 I beat that little punk.
Yeah, I want to try to.
I'm sorry, but did I tell you that I hate Greg Howden? Did I mention that first?
I didn't guess that you were best of friends having 3 fights.
Yeah, no, it's not even because of the fights. He's just a little twat. I can't stand that kid. I'll choke him out if I see him anytime in the near future, believe me.
Let's hope you don't see him. Right, obviously, after the first fight, obviously you won the first fight, you had the rematch, you lost the second fight. I just want to knock it back a tiny bit. You went on to fight 2 other guys after losing to him. You knocked both of those guys out before taking on Roger Mayweather for the WBC World Super Lightweight title at that time. Now, ultimately, you lost that fight over 12 rounds, but immediately after the fight, you collapsed and were rushed to hospital. You nearly passed away that night, right?
Yeah, that was a bad night, boy. You know, and in that fight, I just think of my dad, because if my dad wasn't with me, we wouldn't be talking right now on the phone. You know, I got lucky. My father was a great man, and he was always by my side as much as he could be anyways. And I was on the table in the hospital. They had 2 IVs in me, 1 in each arm, and I can remember thinking, you know what? I just got beat by Roger Mayweather. I literally was beating the tar out of Rocky Lockridge, who knocked out Mayweather. They took me as the sparring partner for Rocky Lockridge. I was beating his butt every day. And Rocky knocked out Roger Mayweather flat, like knocked him out. And so I thought I was going to beat him easy. You know, I was trying to make the weight. I couldn't make the weight. It was killing me. So I lost the fight, and it was the first time I got put down on my ass, and I just couldn't believe it. I was literally so humiliated. I couldn't believe it, and I was at the hospital, and I just thought, you know what? I'm gonna die. I don't give a shit. I lost the fight, and everyone was at the fight because I was the co-feature to Sugar Ray Leonard versus Daniel Lalonde for the light heavyweight championship of the world, and of course Sugar Ray Leonard won. And so many celebrities were at the fight, and I was just so embarrassed that he put me down and beat me. I couldn't do anything with him. I remember the fight like being like a bad dream. Like when you try to hit somebody and you can't, or it just don't hurt. Like that's how I remember that fight. I was so drained, and I was going through white clouds, bro. Honest to God, I saw myself going up through clouds, up and up and up, and you know I'm not a very religious person, but I was floating up higher and higher through white clouds, and it felt great. It felt great, and I just said to myself, you know, frick it. This is it. I'm going. And the nurse, I literally heard them. I heard the nurse tell my father, she said, Mr. Pazienza, I hate to say this, but we're losing your son. He's only got 1 heartbeat at every 6 to 8 seconds. And when she said that to my dad, he grabbed my shirt and he started shaking me violently, and I heard his voice saying, "Champ, I don't care, you lost. Don't do this." And he was shaking me, and as soon as he started like shaking my whole body up, going up through clouds, boom, it stopped, and I came back, and the clouds were gone forever, and that was it. And I came back, or else we wouldn't be talking right now.
Oh, that is incredible. That is absolutely incredible. Now, obviously, after that fight, you fought another 3 guys. You knocked all of those guys out before fighting for the WBO World Super Lightweight title this time. This was against, obviously, the then undefeated 36-0 Hector Camacho. Unfortunately, you came up short once again there. Now, how good was Hector Camacho, Vinny? Because people tend to forget how good he was. All in all, he was only he was a professional for almost 30 years, which is insane.
He was a great fighter, great speed, great movement, great knowledge. Hector was great. I'm kind of sad that he's gone now. He was a hot ticket, but he loved those drugs. He loved those drugs. That's how he lived. That's how he died. And there's nothing you can do about it. But people are who they are, and that's it. And he just loved the party. He loved that cocaine, and it killed him in the end. Because he was having to sell it, and doing it and taking it and selling it, and it finally caught up with him. He was a good guy though, Hector. All in all, to be honest with you, and crazy. Who's not? But he was a great fighter. He could fight. He could fight. That dude was fast as lightning. Fast as lightning. One of, if not the fastest fighters I ever fought. Between him and Roy Jones, it's a toss-up. But, oh, my God, Hector was so fast. And on top of it all, he was left-handed, which made him even more difficult to fight. And I think, being in the ring with him, making 140 pounds, I couldn't make it. I was weak as hell that fight. I think I would have ran him out of the ring pretty good. But he was a real slick dude, man. He knew how to fight. He knew how to move. Knew how to get out of the way. He was quite a student of the boxing game. He sharp as a tack. And he was so fast. I say it all the time. I still say it to this day. Just the other day, my friend was driving like 75, 80 miles an hour in a 45 zone. And I was like, dude, speed kills. Drop it down a little bit, bro. Drop it down. Because it's so true. In life, on the road, and in the ring, speed kills. And you say what you want, but that's a fact, Jack.
Yeah, no, certainly. But no, he's a fighter that I feel sometimes when people look back at some of the great fighters, they kind of forget to mention him. He was such a good fighter.
Yeah, absolutely. At one point, he was the dude everyone wanted to watch on TV. Even though he was very slick with his movement and defense, he was fast as lightning. People still wanted to see him. Even when they talk crap about him, people still wanted to see Hector fight. He was a good fighter.
Absolutely. And obviously after losing that fight, that is when you took on Greg Haugen for the third time. This was obviously best out of 3. Going into the fight, it was 1-1 between you guys. And this time you beat him over 10 rounds, finally putting that... Well, I was going to say finally putting the rivalry to bed, but obviously you've still got feelings about that. But how good was it to get the win there, to kind of shut the book on that one?
It was awesome. It was one of the best nights of my life, because I hated that little maggot then. I hate him more now. I beat his ass. He didn't even touch me. He barely hit me through the whole fight. My defense was super. I was moving. I was boxing him, hitting him with combinations. I was showing out on him. I put on a show for President Trump. It was one of the coolest fights of my life. And then afterwards, he's still talking shit that, I won the fight. They gave him a break. What? Come on. Like, what a little baby. If you're going to beat people up in a ring, if you're going to be a fighter and you're going to knock people out, you're going to beat people up, then you better learn to accept it when you get knocked out or beat the beat the tar out of. You better learn how to accept it. And he never learned how to accept it.
Yeah, okay, but no, it was obviously it was good to shut that little chapter up there. Yeah, obviously after that fight, you went on to take on Loreto Garza. Now, you were disqualified in round 11 for that. I was watching it the other day. I don't know if you'd done anything previous to well, it looked like you tried to body slam him, Vinny. Why'd you do that?
Because I was so frustrated and I couldn't get to him, and I hit hard, and when I hit hard, I hit people, they get hurt, and just making that weight just made it like a bad dream every fight. Like you can't hit somebody. You know you got all this power, and you try to hit them, but it just don't land. It don't have no speed on it. It doesn't connect. And it's just so frustrating, man. So I finally said, fuck this. I'm sick of this shit. And I literally picked him up, and I was going to throw him over the top rope. But, I didn't, and I got disqualified anyways. And Loreto's a really good guy. I've become friendly with him. Real nice guy. And he was a great fighter. Like most guys in boxing, most fighters that fight with a lot of heart, that are tough guys, are good guys outside the ring. Loreto's a good guy. He's a good dude. A stand up dude. I wish he lived in Rhode Island. I'd be hanging out with him.
Yeah, that's cool, man. That's cool. It is that. I've spoken to loads of boxers over the years, and yeah, you're right. Some of the toughest guys are some of the nicest guys. Now, obviously, after that fight, Vinny, you decided to move up not just one but two weight classes because, you felt that you were just killing yourself to make that weight. Is that the reason why you moved up, two weight classes, which is pretty unheard of, really, to go up two?
Absolutely, yeah. And I only did it because I went with Kevin Rooney. And I went to Kevin Rooney's gym in Catskills. I drove from Rhode Island, and I boxed his best middleweight. And I beat the tar out of this guy. Like, I gave him a boxing lesson. We were slugging. I was beating him, punch for punch. And, he was hitting me with bombs, and I wasn't moving. And I was hitting him, and I was hurting him. And literally, we were going to go 6 rounds. He got out of the ring after the 4th round with me. Gave him a beat. That was his best middleweight. So now, after the sparring match, I do a little jump rope in, hit the speed bag. I do some push-ups. I do some sit-ups. And I jump on the scale, and just like in the movie, like in Bleed for This. The movie was good, and it was kind of spot on. It was a lot of things that happened. It was reality, the movie. But it's pretty funny, though, because I can remember it. It cracks me up because you get in a boxing mindset, like the Duvas, like it made me believe that I had to stay at lightweight. Like I had to stay at 135 pounds or it would be over. Like my boxing career would be over if I didn't stay at 135 pounds. That's where I had to stay, which is ridiculous. Guys grow up, guys turn into men, kids go into manhood. You get muscle, you work out every day, you pack on muscle's heavier than fat, heavier than no muscle. And of course you gain a little bit of weight. I've been kept down in weight since I was at the Olympic Training Center. So anyways, when I met with Kevin Rooney and I went down to box his middleweight, gave him a beating, and then I even worked out a little bit more after. I was drenched, I was soaked. I had to lose, I don't know, somewhere between 5 and 10 pounds. So anyways, I'm ready to get on the scale, and I have literally nothing on me but a little pair of bikini underwear. And Kevin says, "Come on, Vinny, get on the scale." I said, "Well, what are you doing?" He said, "What do you mean, what am I doing?" I said, "Move it up." He said, "Why?" I said, what do you mean why? I'm not fighting. That's if I fight 140. I'm not 140. He says, well, what do you want me to put up to? I said, I don't know. Put it up to 160. He says 160. So he puts it up to 145. He puts in the 145. I get on, and the damn scale almost breaks. Boom! The calculator hits the top. The number. Oh my God! I'll never forget it. It hits the top of the damn scale. It almost busted it. And he looks at me. He goes, "You kidding, right? You kidding, right? Really? 145? You drenched. You had to lose like maybe 10 pounds. 145, and that's not even what you weigh." So he goes, "Let me see what you weigh. Don't move." So he goes, 46, 47, 49, 50, 53, 55. 56, and then it started leveling out around 157, 58, and he just shook his head. He goes, "This is effing ridiculous." He said, "You got to be kidding me, right?" And that's what made me move up a couple of weight classes, and it was the greatest thing that I did in my life. And figures like literally, I'm so lucky I did not die in any of those earlier fights because dehydration, it's a bad thing.
When you went to Kevin Rooney, was that before or after the Ron Edmondson fight?
That was immediately before, because like he called the Duvas and he told them, he said, "Hey, listen, I'm training Vinny now, and he's fighting at Junior Middleweight, and that's it. I ain't letting him fight no lighter." And they said, "Okay, all right, you're sure?" And he goes, "Yeah, I'm very sure." And he said, "Get us a fight." So they got me my first fight for the United States title, the United States Junior Middleweight title against Ron Edmondson, and I beat him. Good fighter. He had a good record. He was the defending champion, and I cleaned his clock. I beat him soundly over 12 rounds, and then I fought Gilbert Delay and beat him.
And obviously,
for the WBA title. For the WBA title, that was a big one.
And obviously, being with Kevin Rooney, obviously at that point he had just, I think a couple years before, just finished off with Mike Tyson, obviously. Kevin Rooney, again, is another man who's very underrated in terms of training when we look back. What was it like being trained by a man with that level of knowledge as well for the game?
Loved him, loved Kevin, I loved Kevin. He was awesome. Great man, great guy, great trainer. And, I had a lot of laughs with him. He would come down and stay with me a month before each fight at my house. And we had a great connection. And it worked. It really, really worked. And he had me, slipping a lot of punches, moving and grooving and beating up a lot of guys. I'm not, like the last time he came to Rhode Island, I didn't even want to go see him because he's got dementia, and that's how my father died. So I didn't even want to see him. I didn't go see him, and I couldn't take it. I couldn't take seeing him like that. He's only 8 years older than me. Kevin is, and he had dementia. He was on the brink of Alzheimer's, and he had it pretty bad from what they tell me. And literally, not that much older than me, but, he got knocked out a couple of times in the boxing ring. I never did. He did drugs when he was a kid, and I never did. And he drank as a young guy. He used to hang around with a bad crowd in New York. And, luckily enough, I never done that.
Yeah, best wishes with Kevin Rooney, by the way. And obviously, as you touched on there, your next fight after the Ron Edmondson fight was against Gilbert Dele, obviously for the WBA World Junior Middleweight title. Now, you were winning the fight, but just to put the cherry on the icing on the cake, you knock him out in the final round and become the new WBA Junior Middleweight Champion of the world. Obviously, your second major title. How are you feeling at that point, Vinny?
On top of the world, bro. I was feeling on top of the world. I couldn't, it was almost too good to be true, to be honest with you. But I was on top of the world. I was feeling good. I was looking good. I had my game down. I was on top of the world champion, girls everywhere, money everywhere. It was just a crazy time in my life. And then, go figure, maybe God said, well, you got to step it back a little bit, pal. You're getting a little too big for your britches, because it was nuts, like crazy. When I tell you, crazy. People throwing money at me, people like girls throwing themselves at me. It was a crazy period in my life, and I guess the big guy said, "Well, kind of take it back a little step here. Just relax, Paz, man. You'll get through this, but it'll calm you down a little bit." And that's how I look at it.
Yeah, and we should note also that was obviously your last fight before the horrific accident. That fight was also 26 years ago this week. That's the reason why, of course, we're doing this on this particular week. Now, here is where things obviously.
Hey, they nicknamed that fight, like, I think of it every time October 1st comes around, because that's when I won the title. They called it October Fist. It was on October 1st.
Yeah, no,
it's pretty cool. They called it October Fist. Yeah.
It's pretty cool. It is pretty cool. Now, obviously, here was where things went from amazingly good to rock bottom bad, really. How many days or weeks was it after the fight where you were in that life-changing car crash, Vinny?
It was a couple weeks later. I think it was about 3 weeks later, around 21 days.
And obviously now your movie's out, your movie mainly being based on the accident. Your movie obviously is entitled Bleed for This, and for your UK fans, they are lucky enough that the film's on Netflix in the UK, which is the same place where I watched the film. So the film itself, you will see many of the things in the film that I've mentioned already during this interview, along with the horrific car crash and of course the miraculous recovery that followed that tragic event. So I'll continue, Vinny. You were a passenger of a vehicle that collided with another vehicle, and obviously the accident left you with a broken neck. You had to vacate the world title. The doctors told you that you'd never walk again, you'd certainly never fight again, and of course you had to wear a halo with 4 screws drilled into your skull. Now, I know what happens next, obviously. You disobeyed the doctor's orders, continued to work out, but surely, Vinny, there must have been a period of time where you believed the doctors and actually thought this could be it, and surely that was a depressing time for you.
Depressing. Depressing is putting it very mildly. Yeah, depressing was the tip of the iceberg. It was a horrific moment in my life. Like, think about it. You wake up every day and you see 4 screws in your skull. Like it was incredible. I'm like going, come on, man, really? The 2000th century, this is what they're gonna do to someone, put screws in my head? There's screws in my skull. Like, what's going on? And I stayed so strong, and every time I looked in the mirror, I literally every time I looked in the mirror, bro, I said, what the fuck are you doing, man? What are you doing? Like, every time I looked in the mirror, what are you doing, man? And I said, whatever you're doing, just keep fucking doing it, because you're going to make this happen or you're going to die trying. And that's literally how it went down. And I got lucky, but a lot of hard work, a lot of sweat, a lot of hard work, a lot of fingers crossed. Big guys looking out for me, and made it happen.
And as I said there, you obviously disobeyed doctor's orders, and unbelievably, you were in the ring just 13 months after the car crash. You then perform what many consider to be the greatest comeback of all time. You step right back in with a big puncher by the name of Luis Santana. Now, you pitched a shutout win over 10 rounds pretty much. Luis Santana, of course, ended up going on to win a world title after that. One thing that shocked me, Vinny, is that you were out of the ring in total for 14 months, and in that time, in the time out of the ring, you only gained 4 pounds. How on earth did you manage to keep the weight down so well?
I was just determined to fight again, and that's it. Bottom line, I had one thought in my mind, and that was it, that I was going to be a world champion again, and I was going to fight no matter what happened, and that's it. Everything else fell into place. I got extremely lucky, but it was persistence, perseverance, determination to the max, and I made things happen. Got lucky, with a lot of skill, but with a lot of hard work. And I took my chances. I rolled the dice. That was a big one. I rolled the dice. I could have 7'd out at any moment, but I didn't.
And of course, the journey doesn't stop there, but I'm just going to run through some of the fights now a little bit quickly. After the Santana fight, obviously, you made Brett Lally retire on his store after 6 rounds. Then you went on to knock out our very own Lloyd Hunnigan in 10 rounds. You then win 3 more fights and then take on Roberto Duran, in which you shocked the world once again by outpointing him over 12 rounds. Now, some people said it was a bit controversial, so you ended up giving him a rematch, and again, you beat him over 12 rounds, this time even wider than before. Unbelievable stuff. Which part of those 2 Roberto Duran victories was the most memorable moments for you, Vinny?
My most memorable moment, and I tell Duran this now because we're friends. I love the guy. He's one of the reasons why I started. I loved Muhammad Ali, but I really liked Roberto Duran. He was an animal. Oh my God, I love that guy. And Muhammad Ali was just the man. I loved boxing because of him. But when I fought Duran, he was older, so I didn't know. I had no idea. I was thinking, a man 40 years old, he's got to be my thought process then. Back then was he's got to have one foot on a banana peel and the other one, in the grave. So I had no idea a guy in his 40s could fight and especially stay with me, because I was in my early 30s, but I was a beast. I was I'm so immature, bro. So I didn't grow up till I was in my 30s. So I just thought I was gonna clean his clock, and I remember getting in the ring with him the first time in Vegas. I just couldn't believe how strong he was. It was amazing. It was amazing. I'd never been in the ring with anybody that hit so hard. In every shot he landed was like a thud. Boom! It was just unbelievable. Because obviously he wasn't the Duran of yesteryear. Because Duran was amazing and fast as lightning and tough as nails, and still to this day, when you're tough as nails, you die tough as nails. But I just remember he hit me with a body shot one time, and I went, "You got to be kidding me. Oh, my God, I got to take 12 rounds of this shit." I couldn't believe it. I literally couldn't believe it. And I beat him. He dropped me. He dropped me in the 5th round, and he hit me with a shot, and literally I didn't feel anything. But the next thing I knew, I saw a canvas next to my eyeball. And that was not a familiar place for me to be while I'm in a fight. So I just couldn't believe it. So I jumped up and I went to the neutral corner and I was smacking myself on the head. I'll never forget it. And I was looking in the crowd. I had my hands on the ropes. I'm looking in the crowd, and I just remember seeing Montel Williams in the front row. And I'm looking at him, and Montel's a great guy. He's awesome. I did his show once with my mother. Real nice dude, and loved him. We went out to eat after, and he was a sweetheart. And I'm looking at him, and he's going, come on. He's got his hand up in the air, and he's going, come on, Vinny, you can do it. And I just remember thinking to myself, looking at him, I thought to myself, fuck you, Montel. you get your bald-headed ass up in there, and you go with this animal. You can do it. Yeah, it's easy. It's easy just sitting outside the ring in the front row. Yeah, like I'm dying to see him again just so I can tell him that, because he'll crack up. He's a real nice guy. And then I went back in there, and then after that round ended, I followed Duran back to his corner, and I told him, I said, I was screaming at him, yelling, I ain't going nowhere, Duran. I ain't going nowhere. And he looked at me, and he just punked me off. And he said, loco. Yeah, and that's when I knew I had him. And then that was the first fight in Vegas. And then the second fight in Atlantic City was for Donald Trump for our president. That second fight, I whitewashed him. He got very old in between. It was about a year later that I fought him. He got very old in between. He was not as quick. He was not as limber. He's not as loose. He wasn't as good as he was in the first fight. And, because when you get in your 40s, I mean, it's over. When you get in your 30s in boxing, it's over. Never mind your 40s. So anyways, but I do remember this. In one of the rounds, I don't even remember what round it was because I was in orbit the whole frickin' round. He hit me with an overhand right. I didn't say nothing. I didn't do nothing. I grabbed him and held on a little bit. Nobody knew I was hurt. No one knew nothing. I moved around the ring. I did not know where I was. I did not know. Like, he hit me so hard. I was in space. I didn't even know I was in a freaking boxing ring in Atlantic City. I didn't know where I was. I'll never forget that. He hit me so freaking hard in that second fight. Like, I cleaned his clock. I beat him every round, but he just hit me one time. And when I tell you, it was like getting hit by one of those balls that go into the building and just start breaking bricks. Oh my God, I couldn't believe it. I never got hit like that in my life. In my life, I got sparred thousands of rounds with heavyweights. I've never got hit like that in my life. And then I won the fight, and then after I bust his balls now. Every time I see him, I said, "Don't hit me." I said, "Don't hit me, please, whatever you do, Duran, don't hit me." I called you. I busted his balls. I said, "You old motherfucker, you can still hit like a ton of bricks. Don't touch me. Don't even touch me." He starts cracking up.
Excellent. Excellent stuff. Now, obviously, after that Duran fight, you took on a very superb version of Roy Jones back then, and obviously you lost that fight. But
and that was on my worst night. They got me good. It was his promoting team. So I asked them when I'm going to fight. They told me between 9-10 o'clock. So I'm figuring, all right, good. And I knew, Jones was awesome. It didn't get any better than Jones. Jones was Sugar Ray Robinson at that moment. Sugar Ray Robinson was Sugar Ray Robinson for 25 years. But that moment, Roy Jones was Sugar Ray Robinson. Big difference. Roy Jones was Sugar Ray Robinson for, maybe 6-9 years. Sugar Robinson was Sugar Robinson for 25 years or more, which is quite amazing. That guy got to 100 wins and no losses. It's remarkable. You know, definitely 1,000% the greatest fighter of all time, without a doubt, Sugar Ray Robinson. But anyways, so that fight, they tell me I'm going to fight him 9, 10 o'clock. So I prepare to get jacked up for 9:30, ready to go. I'm in the back, you know, I'm drinking coffee. I got my power pills I'm taking, caffeine pills, you know, getting jacked up, ready to fight, ready to go. 9:30, I'm good. 9 to 10 o'clock, I'm good. I'm sweating, I'm jamming, I'm ready. 10:30, I'm ready to go. Let's get this on. 11 o'clock, 11:30, 12 o'clock. They woke me up on my table. They woke me up at like 7 past 12, 10 past 12. And that's when the fight was 12:15. I had that guy. He was unbelievable at the time. He was just unbelievable, and I couldn't do nothing with him. It was the worst night of my life and the best night of his life. So that's how I chalk that up to.
Yeah, no, but once again, you know, another huge name that you shared the ring with, Vinny, there, and obviously at that point you were kind of closing out, you know, your pro career. Really, you had 14 more fights from there, winning 10 and losing 4. Now I just want to move on to say a few words on the film for those that haven't watched it. Say that again, Vinny.
Very good, very inspirational.
Yeah, for sure. Now, how did the whole thing come about in the beginning, Vinny? And why didn't a film end up happening years ago, really?
That's a good question. And probably because basically I did not have like anyone with me. I didn't have nobody in my corner. You know, it was really just me and my dad. And, you know, my dad wasn't into that kind of business. Wasn't a boxing trainer, wasn't a PR person, wasn't a agent. You know, now things are different. I wish I had my Zena, you know, now with me, my PR girl now. I wish she was with me then. Things would be much different. But the movie happened, and it's, you know, life is so crazy, and mine's just a little crazier than everybody else's, just because of what I've done my whole life, and the ups, the downs, the good, the bad, the money, the no money, the good, the bad, the ugly. It's just, you know, it's a crazy life I've led, and it's a good one, but it's crazy. And I wish I would have had my Zena with me at the time. Things would be different. But I got them in a court case now. You know, it's just amazing how things happen. But I'm just very fortunate that the movie itself is super good. It's really good, and I'm proud of it, and people love it. Just last night I was out here in Rhode Island, and a couple people came up to me. Oh my God, Vinny, the movie's so great. Oh my God, I watched it like 5 times already. And like everywhere I go, I get that same response. So it's pretty cool. And other than that, I am working with my PR girl, is Zena. She's the bomb, like I told you again and again, and I will always say it again and again. And we got a wine coming out that's really awesome. I got my 5 times better wine. And it's so good. My red wine is just so good. You know, I love red wine, and this is the only red wine I drink with nothing else in it. Like, because I always put like Crystal Light in it or Diet Coke in with my red wine. This wine's so damn good that I don't put nothing in it. And then I got a white wine, which is good, which I don't drink white wine, but it's also very good. And my champagne is really good, off the hook, really, really tasty. So that's a good thing happening for me right now.
What I want to just touch on the movie itself is that what I really liked about it and what kind of made it stand out from some other boxing movies out there is that it wasn't all just about the fighting. From what I saw in Bleed for This, there was a lot of showings of personal life and family orientated stuff. And for a boxing film, you don't usually see that. It's all action usually, and it's not really real. There's no real story behind it. But I felt a real story behind Bleed for This. And also, I was watching it. I said to my girlfriend, "Come on, let's watch this film," and she's like, "Oh, I don't want to watch a boxing film." And about 5 minutes into it, I said, "All right, you going to bed then?" She went, "No, I'm going to carry on watching it." So that just kind of showed you right there that it gets your attention. Do you agree with me on the fact that it was very family orientated?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah, they did a nice job with it, and the producers had nothing to do with that, of course, but the people on the set were really good. The actors all put out, a great job. And yes, you're right. It's just a boxing background, that just happens to be what it was. But it shows that you can do great things in life if you put your mind to it, and stay strong and keep battling. You can make some great things happen, and that's what the movie's all about. And it definitely tapped into that. It definitely had, it was to me, it's one of the greatest movies of all time. It's just a shame that it wasn't out there advertised, to be seen by so many. But hopefully we can make another run of it. I'm hoping, my PR girl is the bomb, and we're trying to make it happen again, because it's been seen by people, but so not enough people saw that movie than what really should have. And you seeing it and feeling the way you feel, exactly what I mean. Everybody should see that movie. For one reason or another, everybody. And I don't give a shit what anybody says. Black, white, poor, rich, good looking, ugly, fat, skinny, stupid, smart. Everybody goes down in life at some point, sometime. Everybody faces some controversy, faces some battle, faces some uphill struggle. And my movie, will make you keep going. It'll make you think twice. That's for damn sure. And it was good. It was good.
And Vinny, I want to ask you about a couple of things that happened in the film that I wasn't aware of, and I wasn't sure if they were things that actually happened or were, to make the movie a tiny bit more interesting. Do you mind if I ask you a couple of the things?
Let's go. Shoot, whatever.
I know that in the film, your father walked out of your corner. Did that happen in real life?
No, that was strictly for the movie.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. And obviously, when you returned to the gym after the crash, in the movie, they played it out that nobody wanted to spar you, and when someone eventually did spar you, you were dropped in the first spar back.
That was 90% the truth.
Okay.
Yeah, nobody wanted to box me, because, other than what some people think, I'm a pretty good guy. And I make friends with everybody. Nobody wanted to break my neck again in the ring, so no one would take the challenge. And then finally, literally, I got a buddy of mine from Fall River, Massachusetts, who's a great fighter. His name's Ray Oliveira. And he says, "Come on, Vinny." He says, I'll spar with you. And we got him to box with me, and it was a good fit because, Ray was not a good puncher, but he was a real fast, good fighter. And he didn't want to hit me in the beginning, too, so I started banging on him, beating the tar out of him. And then finally, he started going back at it, and we went at it. And then after the second round, I went back to the corner, and I high-fived Kevin Rooney. I high-fived my father. And I said, "We're back. We're back, bleepers. We're back. We're back, bleepers.
And obviously, I wanted to also ask you, because you had the halo on your head for, I think it was about 3-4 months, something like that. How were you able to sleep at night with that thing on?
Not. let me just say, not well. I did not sleep well for those months of my life. Oh my God! It's almost like I almost want to say to you, like, dude, really think about it. Put a screw in your skull and try to go to bed.
And obviously,
drill a screw in your skull and then go to bed. Yeah, go ahead. See how you sleep.
And obviously, earlier this year, Vinny, you toured the UK. Will you be back in the UK anytime soon at all, or are you touring anywhere else?
Yeah, I really hope I will be back in the UK, because I love the people there. It's a great boxing country. There's a lot of history, and they love the boxing. They really do. I got so many fans over there, and I respect it and appreciate it so much. I really plan and hope to come back there real soon.
And also, coming down to the last couple questions now, Vinny, how many countries is the film being shown in? Because I know that recently it was released in Japan, if I'm not mistaken.
I think it was released in Japan, China, Italy, the UK, and even other places that I'm not even sure about. But the rat bastard producers that are on the set, like, don't even tell me. I don't hear from them. It's almost like a joke. But they'll get theirs. We have them in a court case, and hopefully justice will be served. But besides that, I'm happy to talk to you. I'm glad people are listening, and I'm going to be really happy that a lot of people see the movie, because it's really good, and it's true. It's no Rocky bullshit. It's not like, not Rocky 1, not Rocky 6, and they were all great movies, but they were movies. This is reality. This is no joke. This is really what happened. Like, this really happened. I'm a real person. The Tasmanian devil lives, and I only lived because of that movie. So I would love everybody to see it.
And just, as I say, just coming down to the last couple questions, Vinny, I want to ask you this. You had many hard fights in your career. Which fight or fighter, whichever you prefer, which fight or fighter would you say was the hardest challenge that you've ever had in your career?
I fought so many great fighters. I wouldn't be right if I picked out one name for so many great fighters, but I will tell you this. The one and only guy who hit me the hardest in the ring was Roberto Duran.
Yeah. No, fair enough.
Yeah, well, hands down. I fought so many great fighters. From Hector Camacho to Roy Jones, Greg Haugen, Loretto Garza, the Mayweather fight, so many. DeLay was a great fight. DeLay was undefeated in 30 fights. I was his first defeat. And, but without a doubt, just hands down, whenever anybody asks me a question like that, I just think of Roberto Duran. And he did that at 40 years old. Oh my God, I can only imagine what he was like at 27.
And also a question I want to throw at you, Vinny. I like to ask this question to everybody that we speak to from overseas. I'd like to ask you your favourite UK fighter from any era, Vinny. Who would you say? They can still be boxing now. They can be long retired.
I used to like Nigel Benn. He was a badass, and I wanted to fight him at one time, and I thought it was going to happen. But and I only wanted it to happen because just the name of the fight would have been like phenomenal. Like, listen to this. The Doc Destroyer versus the Tasmanian Devil. Come on. Really? That's like an after-school special, like with Godzilla.
He's actually, funny enough that you should mention him, he's actually got a son who's boxing now. He's only had about 8 or 9 fights. He's actually fighting this weekend. His name is Conor Ben. So
can't be as good as Nigel.
Nobody thinks he will be, but best of luck.
Never happened. Yeah, wish him best of luck too. But Nigel was a badass in his day, and I really wanted to fight him because I thought I could have beat him. He was a badass. He could hit like a mule's kick. He could hit like a Duran. I guarantee that. He would hit close to like a Duran.
Yeah, for sure. So once again, anybody listening, please go and check out the movie Bleed for this. You will see much more than this stuff that we've discussed during this interview. It's a really great boxing movie, and the acting is fantastic by everybody involved. A big shout out especially to Miles Teller for his fantastic job playing Vinny in the film. Any more that you want to add at all, Vinny, just before we let you go? Anything you want to say to our listeners here in the UK?
You did a great job. It was a great interview. Miles Teller played a great part. He ain't Vinny Paz. He's Miles Teller, but he played a good Vinny Paz. And my Xena, my PR girl's the bomb. And besides that, life is okay. It could be worse.
Okay, listen, Vinny, it's simply been a real pleasure interviewing you. Thank you so much for coming on. Best of luck with everything in the future. And once again, it's been a true honour to do this with a real-life legend like yourself, sir.
Right on, brother. Thank you. Peace and love, and I will talk to you again, I'm sure.
Okay, and this wraps up episode 103 of the BoxHard Podcast. It's been another lengthy but informative show. A big thank you to our 2 guests, the undefeated middleweight giant Alantez Fox, and of course the living legend and former 2-weight world champion Vinny Paz. I wish Alantez the very best of luck against Demetrius Andrade come October 21st. And as for Vinny Paz, I don't believe he's ever done an interview in that much detail. Boy oh boy did he have some stories for us. As always, it's been an absolute pleasure delivering this weekly freebie to our listeners' ears. Remember, the prediction league currently stands at myself on 5 points, Ayaz on 5 points, and you, the listeners, on 4 points. However, there are another 3 points at stake this weekend as well. We hope you've enjoyed the show, and if you have, please leave us a review on iTunes. It truly does mean a lot. We'll be back next week with another big show as always. Until next time, take care.